pitching. And I don't think they understand, well, this guy's a great big bopper. Well, so what? Good pitching gets good hitting out any day. And, it's true. And if you got a closer in there, that's a real legitimate closer that can come in and nail it, that's another thing. I mean, if you've got 3 starters and you've got kind of a decent 2 guys out in the pen with a real closer, I mean, that's serious playoff, knocking on the door into series type stuff. If you've got 2 starters out of the 5, and you've got, 2 mediocre guys, and you've got a closer by committee, you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So it's basically shit shot. So who knows? You're throwing a coin up and flipping.
All right, but getting back to Robert, so yeah, I don't think he's going to get fired. I think you're right. He is a Dodgers company man. I think he's safe. All right, so with that said, we'll stay with the Dodger thing for a moment. Clayton Kershaw's obviously had some postseason struggles. It was evident once again in the deciding game. Is that a mental thing for him, or are some guys just meant to be regular season guys and postseason guys? I can't figure that one out.
He's thrown a lot of bullets. At the end of the year, I mean, he's used like a number 1 guy should be. He's pitching against the other side, number 1 guy. So he has to show up and compete at a very high level. So he goes out there for 26 to 30 starts, when he's healthy, and he's tired at the end of the season. Plus, he's not a spring chicken anymore as far as, going out there. People have seen him. A lot of hitters have seen him. And the other factor is like I said, I'm going to come back to the bullet part. He's throwing a lot of bullets, and his arm has taken a lot of hits in there.
Okay.
So, I mean, just because pitchers wear out. Come on. They wear out, folks. I mean, good grief. I wore out after a certain amount of time myself, and, it was all over, and you go downhill fast. Just because he's a big left-handed pitcher that can reach his hand right into the plate doesn't mean he's going to get outs all the time, obviously.
Okay.
Apparently, he threw some balls in the nitro zone and he hit the shit out of them.
Let's go back to the last game, Game 5, obviously, with the grand slam by Washington in the 10th, the first time that that franchise has been to the NLCS since 1981. Is that what are your thoughts about the way that ended in a grand slam fashion?
Well, obviously I don't think, Kelly, he didn't have his stuff and that night, and they sent him out there for the second inning, and it just didn't happen. So they had seen Kelly before as well, and when they put him back out, that's when the real damage was done, and that could have been a different. The thing is, it's hard to speculate on my part even, because Dave Roberts and his pitching coach, they know what's going on with those pitchers, what's going on with those arms. It's at the end of the season. They've thrown a lot of pitches already. They're shot. Come on, folks.
Right.
People don't think about that. They are shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they're doing their thing, but some of those guys might not have that extra little run. They might not have the RPMs on the ball to make it do what they need to have it do. They might not have the bite. They might not have the tilt. But the one thing is they can still change speeds a little bit, and that's why you see more off-speed pitches toward from the middle of the year down. And you'll see that. You'll see a lot of no-hitters, I think, more in the first half than you will the second half, because pitchers are pretty fresh as well, and the hitters aren't as sharp.
That's a good point, Mark. Okay, so yesterday we saw a 10-run first inning by the St. Louis Cardinals, and that game was over before it started, and I know the pitcher...
Jack Flaherty, tremendous in his 2 starts.
Yeah, he was tremendous. What's your take on not only that 10-run first inning, the fact that this inning was over before it started, but Flaherty as well?
Well, 10 runs, it was the first time it's been done since 1929, so that's a long span right there. The other factor is Flaherty is what he is. He's worked himself into a number 1 starter, and he's showing the big magic word is consistency. And, he's able to compete at the highest level and take the ball and give it to him and he wants it. That's a big plus when people want to see a guy like that come, to the mound and take charge of the situation. And that's exactly what he did. Here's the other factor is you still have to remember, how long will these guys last? It's a different breed of cat out there too.
Right.
So we're talking here tonight. It's 2019.
Right.
See where he's going to be in 2025.
Right.
So take note of that. And you can keep your little charts, or you can sit there and look at the books, and you say, okay, well, he did this and this and this. He had an off year here, he had an off year here, but came back and did this. But he's not the same pitcher as he was, maybe same type of pitcher. But, you look at Wainwright, for instance. He's an incredible guy.
Right.
I mean, he's a stud. For him to come out there and pitch like he did at his age, and now he should be the pitcher of the year, actually. Because had they had not Wainwright, that's great that Flaherty came along. But had they had Wainwright, who else would you have gotten out there, to get those really important 7 or 8 wins, when those needed wins at the time.
Well,
and he was calm, cool, and collected, and he was very professional about it.
Well, being a former Cardinal, obviously you got to love the fact that the Cardinals advanced. Obviously you're the one guy that's pitched in both from both Missouri teams, Kansas City and St. Louis, right? So we know you have a sentimental feeling for the Cardinals. With that said, do you feel that the Cardinals have the capability of winning it all?
I don't know. I'm just looking at a good ball game.
Okay.
I mean, anybody can win it all. For me to come out there and say, well, the Cardinals are going to win it all, no, I'm not like that.
Okay.
I'm looking at it from other angles. I mean, you got the Yankees out there. I think they're short on pitching a little bit. Just a little bit. But you know what? Everybody's short on pitching. How about that one? The Joker.
That's fun.
Yeah, we're all short on pitching.
Well, we know that
and
you're...
you know what? The fans don't understand that. They sit there and go, look at the big bopper. No, look at the big pitcher.
Well, we know where you are sentimentally that you hope they win it, but yeah, you definitely nailed it there. So.
Well, I guess that if you want to throw sentiment in, but you know what? I don't know, but that's good. But I like to see good baseball games,
right? And
it's fun to watch the Cardinals, kick ass. 10 runs. That's wild out there to do something of that nature.
Yeah, wasn't it? All right, so let's talk about the game tonight. You got the Houston Astros against the Tampa Bay Rays. The high payroll on the Astros side is $198.6 million versus $63 million, the lowest in MLB. What's your take for the economics about what comparing the contracts?
Verlander got hit, and I wouldn't count on Verlander. He's been seen a lot too,
right.
And he too has thrown a lot of bullets. There's nothing to say that he can't get hit, or any of those guys, for that matter. And but you better have your ducks lined up, and they do, to see who's sound enough to go out there and follow up on Verlander. How long are they going to go with him? If they got a couple runs here, and they got somebody going along with him in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th inning, and there's nothing to say that he's going to always give you those 7th and 8th inning, and keep you in the game that long. I switched over to Verlander, but they've got so many. You've got Cole and all these other pitchers that they've got. And, they have a dynamite staff. But, all it takes is a big inning, see?
Right.
And the big inning can happen fast, real fast. So that's where your manager, your pitching coach, your bullpen guy, analytics people, if you want to go that far, saying, okay, who's ready tonight and who's not. Analytics might say this, but the pitching coach, because he knows the person, his heart, what's going on today, did his wife give him a bad send-off kiss before he went to the park, or what happened? Does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
See, because they don't figure all that crap in,
And
Martinez the other day, they said he had a death in his family, nothing against that, and as God is witness. But the thing about it is that, that's fine and dandy, but he was laughing a whole lot. And I know one thing about me, when I went to the ballpark, and if I went to the mound, that was my safety net, was when I went to the mound, because I knew I could relax there. There was no phone line, and the other factor is nobody was going to tell me really what to do at that point except me and the catcher working together. And I was going to have fun when I was on the mound. So there are really no excuses that you say, oh, so-and-so got hit by a train and he's in the hospital. Well, good grief. Are you kidding me? I'd love it. You know, if somebody got hit by a train and I'm on the mound, shit, I'm going to get the hitter out. I could give a crap about the train. You know,
well,
say the truth. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but that's the way it is, folks.
Well, you know what, Mark? The floor is all Lewis's. He's got probably a million questions in that young head of his, so I'm just going to sit back and watch you guys talk baseball a little bit. Go ahead, Lewis.
So, Mark, I'm going to give you a couple of numbers on Kershaw's postseason struggles just to kind of outline the difference between his regular season numbers and his postseason numbers. His career regular season ERA, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, since the start of the live ball era, which is 1920 when Babe Ruth started hitting all those home runs, 59 to be exact, in 1920 in the wake of the Black Sox scandal. Kershaw's ERA, his career ERA of 2.44, is the best of any starting pitcher since the start of 1920. We're not going to talk about Ed Walsh, who pitched for the White Sox from 1906 to 18 when he had a 1.82 career ERA. That's a different era. His postseason ERA is 4.43 in 159 innings. Kershaw, for his career, has allowed .7 home runs per 9 innings. That's across about 2,275 innings pitched. In the postseason, Scott and Mark, 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. We've seen this since the start of 2017. His home run rate rose. I believe the 2017 was the first year he had a home run rate over a home run allowed per 9 innings. Now, Mark, Scott briefly asked the question, but could you expand a little bit? What do you think is the problem? Because he's had those moments of postseason glory. I'll outline. Game 1 of the division series in 2013 against the Braves, 13 strikeouts in Game 1. Game 1 of the World Series against the Astros, 12 strikeouts and 1 run over 7 innings. But he's had the blow-ups. And we saw that against Matt Adams in 2014 after coming back on 3 days rest. He gives up the 3-run home run, the hanging curveball. 3-2, the Dodgers lose. But what do you think it is genuinely that has Clayton Kershaw, who by wins above replacement and a million other metrics that you can put together, analytical or traditional metrics aside, or altogether, what makes the best pitcher of this generation such a liability in the postseason?
Yeah. You can almost do a Steve Blass effect, to where Steve Blass was Pittsburgh Pirates, and years ago when he threw a one pitch and it got away from him, and Sengun couldn't even come close to blocking it, and the run scored, he could not come close. You know, it's the Steve Sachs factor. You got, in other words, we call it the thing, to where, in other words, he can't throw a strike. But, you know, Kershaw, yeah, he can throw a strike, but maybe he's a little more timid, to where he says, well, I might have to do this or I might have to do that, rather than being free and easy. You know, most ball players, I think, well, I don't know about this, but I think that they approach the game as, hey, it's just another game. You know, and then some maybe might approach it as, oh, I have to be really careful here. And if you're really careful, you're going to get the shit kicked out of you.
And I think Kershaw's, blow up last night, the latest in a saga of something I dislike because, coming from an unobjective perspective, he's my favorite player in the sport. I just love watching him pitch, especially given the fact that his fastball velocity has declined from, 93 in 2016 down to 90.4 this year. The differentiation between the velocity and the slider and the fastball is a lot different. And we were briefly discussing earlier, should Roberts be fired, Scott? Should Roberts be fired, Mark? I honestly think if Roberts isn't another organization and they don't have that previous pedigree of winning those last 2 NL pennants, he's fired. You had Kenley Jansen ready, who, if I don't know if you were watching the game last night, because I definitely was, when Jansen came out to the mound, when he was warming up in the 8th, when Kershaw should have, like I said, he struck out Eaton on 3 pitches to end the 7th, take him out. Aaron Boone did the same thing with Severino in his final start of the regular season and his first start of the postseason. Let him get out of the inning, out of a jam, as Kershaw was coming in for Buehler, and keep that confidence at a high. Save him for the championship series. You had Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, Kenley Jansen, Kenta Maeda, a myriad of pitchers, Julio Urias, who you could have thrown. You could have had Kershaw had that one moment of glory, but instead, Roberts said in his post-game conference, I went with my gut. And it's kind of odd considering he is an analytically inclined manager working with a guy like Andrew Friedman, who built these Tampa Bay teams that are with the lowest payroll at $63 million. The correlations here are innumerable. But
well, you look at right.
But if Roberts makes these decisions for another team by avoiding to take Kershaw out, have Kelly throw a